a very warm welcome to today's forum focused on the corporate social responsibility in the greater area and its application in Macau. So forgive us, usually we are very much on time, but of course we are very glad that television came and it shows the great attention of the media to this topic of how to implement corporate social responsibility in Macau and in the Greater Bay Area. And so it's my honor and my great pleasure to welcome Professor Jenny Guan among us, who serves as the president of the Macau Institute for Corporate Social Responsibility in the Greater Bay Area. It's great that we can cooperate since a number of years on this topic. And as I just shared with the television, I do think that firms are much more aware about the need for corporate social responsibility. And the focus of the Deignan Award we just launched is not on the MNCs, the big firms, but on the small and medium-sized companies. So this will be the focus. After launching this award, we are now organizing a lot of seminars where we hope to debate about also the criteria on what is ESG, CSR all about. And in this process, this Macau Institute for Corporate Social Responsibility in the Greater Bay Area in Greater China has helped us a lot in developing this criteria. So I'm very, very glad and happy that Professor Jenny Guan can introduce us to these main topics and also how it can be applied in Macau. This is the, so to speak, the punchline. So we have first the conference, the lecture of Professor Guan, and then we can engage in the Q&A and feel welcome to drop your questions in the chat room so that we have a lively debate. So over to you, Professor Jenny. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence and your statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Stephen. Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's really my pleasure to be invited here to provide you a short talk related to the CSR. And the purpose that I bring this topic to you is because you know that the Macau Rich Institute recently introduced the Deignan Award to the public, and now it's under application until the end of August, the coming August. So I would like first of all to introduce about what is a CSR and those theoretical basis related to the CSR practices, and what kind of dimensions that the CSR and the sustainability issues are related, and why those public companies, they are engaging in the CSR practice, what kind of benefits they may obtain. And also, I would like to present you some recent development of the CSR initiatives in China, in mainland China and the Great Bay areas, as well as some kind of thoughts and future applications for the industries and enterprises in Macau. So in the following sections, we will separate it into two parts. The first part is the topic as you are seeing from the screen. And the second part is a brief introduction of the Deignan Award. I will provide you some details related to the criteria and the measurement, as well as the application procedures, and how can you fill in the application forms for some kind of details. And for the last 15 to 20 minutes. The time will be passed to you for asking questions, and myself and Father Stephen welcome for any questions you may be interested to know. Okay, so let's start. So first of all, for the concept of CSR, actually this topic have been discussed and researched for many years. And however, still in practice, many stakeholders or public companies, they may not be so clear with the concept. CSR can be all types of the activities that conduct by the companies to manage their core business process. And then at the end, they can produce a positive impact on the society, or they try to minimize the negative impact on the society as a whole. Okay. So this is based on some kind of social contract, maybe because of the legal requirements or the community's expectation, because community itself or the investors, consumers, all types of other stakeholders, they themselves may have some kind of expectations towards the business organizations. So how can these demand and the needs being fulfilled by the companies throughout the whole business operations? This is related to the CSR performance. Okay. And theoretically, there are three major school of thoughts related to the motivation of the CSR activities by the public companies. In very early years, and there is a theory called political economic theory. This political economic theory is developed by Marxists, but the political economic theory we mentioned for the CSR field is more focused on the purpose and the rationale behind why the company want to do these kind of activities. So in the old years in Europe or the Western countries, and most of the enterprises or companies, they perform CSR because they want to seek for some economic or the political benefits. For example, they donate money to support some kind of candidate for a president election. The purpose is they hope that this candidate, after they being elected as the president, can implement some good policies which can benefit to that industry they are participated in. But afterwards, with time goes by, when the whole industry civilization being upgraded, and the legitimacy theory become the main school of thought, and more and more instructions, regulations, as well as some initiatives being implemented or introduced by the regulatory bodies or some other types of the authorities, then people start to think about we cannot violate any rules or laws in the industry. Otherwise, you may not survive for the long time and your business may be terminated. And in the past, the Enron case will be a very typical cases for violating the rules. That's why they closed down all the business worldwide. So legitimacy theory basically mentioned the companies, they perform CSR work is mainly because they want to fulfill a certain kind of legal requirements. And they need to do some desirable things which was expected by the regulatory, the government, or the communities. And in the recent 10 to 20 years, the industry and the enterprises itself, they start to realize it's not enough to only fulfill the legitimacy requirements. And because they have more and more different groups of important groups of the stakeholders. So like employee, like some industrial associations, like the creditors, also the governments, and the investors, shareholders, all these variety types of the stakeholders, they may have different needs for the non-financial information, and they may want to see the company have done something extra, not only related to the profit-seeking parts. So after that, stakeholder theory become another mainstream of the research. And this is mainly help to explain the reason behind that those companies, they are willing to spend resources or put resources in CSR works because they want to fulfill different needs and requests of their stakeholders. Through this, their business can be sustainable for the long term with the support of all these different stakeholder groups. Okay. And right after the progress of internationalization, we start to have more and more international companies who have the business across different countries. And we also can see many public companies, they're being cross-listed in different capital markets. So under this kind of circumstance, institutional theory have become more popular because beside comforting the legitimacy norms or fulfill the needs of the stakeholders, and sometimes many international companies, they may take good use of the CSR activities or performance, try to assist for the internationalization process. Because, for example, for some Chinese enterprises, if they want to enter into the foreign market, they have to fulfill the local requirement related to the sustainable performance or CSR performance. So CSR become one part of the essential or core value for them to demonstrate the quality of their products and services, as well as some other non-financial performance. So these are the theoretical frameworks that main theoretical frameworks that we usually based on when we conduct research and studies. And many people or the organizations, they may ask one question: why CSR is important? Because you need to put extra resources, human resource, financial resource, as well as the time, right? Monetary or non-monetary resources. So, however, with the investment of these resources, you cannot foresee some tangible returns in the short term. For most of the cases, tangible returns not foreseeable in the short term. But what I can say is, although sometimes tangible resources is not available, tangible returns is not available during the short term, but for long term, definitely you may identify some obvious benefits. At least you may find out your customer become the royalty of the customers may be enhanced, and some part of the operating cost can be saved. For example, for those large hotel result in the hospitality industries, many of them start to change their lighting system and change to the smart lighting system. So for the long run, although the initial investment is huge, maybe very obvious, but for the long run, of course, you can save a lot of energy consumption and save the cost for the long-term operations. So, but not only for the economic impact, but also for some social impacts, because with this kind of careful design of your product and services, before that, you need to conduct some survey, for example, to fulfill the different needs of your target customers. Then the product you created also can meet not only the individual's need, but also the society needs, as well as also you can bring the development of the whole industry sector for the long run, and keep updating the technologies and the skills related to your service and the products. So from a certain point of view, by conducting CSR, actually, although for the short run, you may consume some resources, but for the long run, of course, you can be balanced with the financial and non-financial returns. And here I would like to show you, to mention about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And many of you are very familiar with these 17 goals, because as I know that in the industry, different part of the industry, as well as some non-for-profit organizations, these SDGs already being adopted for long term. And sustainability actually is interlinked with CSRs. They have a large, very core sections related to the CSR concept. And we also have another term, ESG, refers to environment, safety, and governance. And all these are become part of the CSR field. And recently, SDGs becomes more and more aware in China, because Chinese enterprises, they want to integrate more into the international market. So they have to equip themselves well, and also to improve their own sustainable performance, as well as their social performance. So here, I would like to present you a survey conducted by PwC in 2020. You may see that the situation of SDGs in China, around 40%. What we can see is around 40% of the participants mentioned that they know about SDGs and already undertaken some relevant projects. All these participants, they are enterprises or public companies in China. And also we have around 22 to 23 participants mentioned they are planning to do something related to SDGs. But you may see that at least we have more than half of the enterprises have mentioned that they pay a lot of attention on those SDG. So these parts related to the practice. All right. So what you have done and what you plan to do, and then people start to think about by doing these CSR, by performing these CSR activities, what kind of benefit that the enterprises can obtain. Here we list out 4 types of the benefits they may have. These are the major, but we also you also can think about the other benefits may join from this social performance. First of all, the companies who have with a better CSR performance, they may this may help them to improve the public image, and also can reinforce the employee loyalty. For example, by providing more fringe benefits and to improve the safety in the working environment, and also to provide necessary support for those staff with difficulties in their life. And also can help the enterprise to increase the media coverage and exposure. Because these days, the community and the society, they want to know more about the financial performance of that company, and not only the financial performance. They may give additional credits to those companies who can demonstrate their outstanding social performance, which can help them to reinforce the reputation. And also can help to attract and retain investors as well, because the investors may believe that those companies with sustainable performance or good social performance, which can survive in the industry and get a very large potential growth in the future. So this part is also one of the main concerns by the enterprises nowadays. So we turn back to the PwC survey. From this survey, we also can find some clues related to the driving forces for implementation of the SDG. And we may find out they often undertake sustainable development projects based on their needs of a branding and image building, as you see, they mentioned. Okay, can increase their brand value. This accounts for 76% of the participants have answered. And also can improve their competitive advantages. Okay. So for the third important driving force, which is clients attach importance to sustainable development and actions. What I mentioned just now, not only the clients, but also the investors and other stakeholders also attach focus and importance to sustainable development of a company. Okay. But still, the external driving forces are relatively weak. For example, the regulatory bodies, policies, and the demands from the customers, as well as the upstream and downstream suppliers in the industrial chain. So this has not been mentioned by the participants in that survey report. So how those companies can integrate their CSR plans into the overall strategic development, and integrate the CSR into their development plan for long-term operation. So here I include a flow chart. So as you see, for this level, direct relationship with the core business of enterprises. Actually, this is what we can say is the entry level CSR. Okay. Entry level. What means entry level is the basic level. Some companies only participate in the charity or donation activities. So this become a very basic part of the CSR activities, because CSR not only related to the charity issues or only related to the environmental issues, and they also link with some other different types of dimensions. Just what we mentioned just now, you may refer back to the SDG 17 goals, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals presented here. It's related to quite a number of dimensions and fields. Okay. And if you want to upgrade your CSR understanding and their performance, may think about some external factors in the business process, like how to reduce the negative impact on the society and the environment through strengthening management and improvement of the production mode. And also for a higher level, okay, you may take into account the common interests of the society, economic, as well as as well as the benefit of other stakeholder groups. Okay, try to pursue some profit and benefits to the society as a whole. Okay, and this will become a higher level CSR thoughts, yes, and the performance. And for those industry players, different industry players, when they think, when they plan for their sustainable development or the CSR performance, they may set some priorities according to the industry natures. So here in PwC's report, they also asked the participants to rank those most important SDGs, sustainable development goals towards their industry. And as you've seen, for capital intensive industry and labor intensive industries, they may have the different they may set different priorities in these aspects. Like retail enterprises, they set decent work and economic growth will be in the first priority, and the good health and well-being second priority, and quality education. So because they are more labor-intensive industries, they're relatively low profile in terms of the CSR part. Low profile means the business process and the service and product itself may have less impact on the environment or society as a whole. But for some capital intensive industries like energy construction enterprises, they may pay more attention on those environmental related issues like clean water and innovations, and also the climate actions. Okay, so and for TM team related to technology, media, and telecom industries, they may put more attention on the partnership related to the also some part related to the people, like decent worker and economic growth. Okay, so basically, the message I would like to bring to you is for different industries, for the enterprises itself, it may not be so easy for you to achieve the goals for all the dimensions. It's also not desirable to spend so much resources in every aspects. But according to your own nature or own advantages, okay, you may select some core value areas and put more resources on it, and put effort to do some kind of contributions. And after you achieving this part of the core aspects, then you can think about others. It's not a short run plan for you to achieve the CSR goals. Actually, it's for the long term and step-by-step work. Here, I also present you the conditions of the CSR reporting of Chinese companies. And for the Great Bay areas, we believe that the situation is more or less similar with other regions in the mainland China. And just now, we mentioned a lot about the practice and the performance, right? CSR performance, CSR practice, how to achieve the sustainable development goals. But here, I would like to emphasize on the communication of this information, because only you have done a lot, okay? But your stakeholders do not have the chance to understand what you have done or being informed about what you have done. So I think that will not be a desirable result that expected by the enterprises, or as well as the related stakeholder groups, right? So actually, not only the government or regulatory bodies, they keep encouraging public companies or different types of the companies to disclose more throughout the standalone CSR or sustainability report, or through the website, or through other media, social medias, for example. Okay, and this is important because just like a peer effect, one company, they disclose this information, the other industry players may follow. And with time goes by, the overall atmosphere, also the overall performance of that industry may be enhanced and improved. So that's important. As you've seen from this bar chart, in terms of the industry type, as using the primary industry and the secondary industry, they disclose more because they are more subjective to they may subject to the strong policy supervision for these primary and secondary industries. And in terms of the ownership, you may see that foreign invested enterprises they disclosed more related to the SDG information. Because maybe they have some kind of a requirement set by the headquarters in the foreign countries, which have some kind of requirement need to be fulfilled. And for the SOEs, also more than 60% of SOEs have this kind of disclosure in different types of the communication channels or medias. This because government government is a part, one group of the shareholders or owners of SOEs. So SOE just like a kind of pioneer to act in a sustainable way, can be a kind of model for the other private enterprises to follow, and also help to promote the SDG goals within the China market. And for private owned enterprises, they may have less resources. The resource I mentioned is the training related to SDG, and they may not have sufficient support to do some reporting work. So under this kind of circumstance, the percentage of the participants who claim that they have sustainable reporting is much less than the first two groups. But although they are the followers, but as you can see, the percentage is also close to 50%. We believe that in recent years, this percentage, this weight may keep increasing. Okay, and for if we look at the companies in the capital market, more than actually it's 80%. 80% of listed companies they have the CSR reporting. They have conducted CSR reporting. The rationale behind is actually in very early years, the two stock exchanges in Shanghai and Shenzhen already encourage all the listed companies to report or disclose their CSR performance. And they also encourage these companies to prepare the standalone report and release to the public. For unlisted companies, for different reasons, maybe self-motivated or maybe due to their development needs or the needs for business expansion, they may also choose to disclose this part of the information. But overall, the situation is quite good. And also, we believe this kind of practice will be improved in the keep improving in recent years. According to our observation, just now we mentioned there are many enterprises in the Great Bay Area or in China, in mainland China, disclose the CSR information. But according to our observation and the research, we have identified some quality issues. For example, for the comparability, because there are few quantitative indicators for most of the CSR reports or sustainability reports, non-financial information or qualitative the information occupies the main content of the documents. So it's very difficult for the readers to compare the CSR performance or to quantify the CSR performance among different years. And also, most of the enterprises, they prefer to disclose good news and the lack of the negative informations or risk. Only in the annual report, maybe in order to fulfill or comply with the financial reporting standards, that's why they may disclose some contingency issues, some lawsuits issues or negative information. But beside this part, no other negative information will be voluntarily disclosed. For example, some penalties, for example, and there are some disputes with the major business partners. All this information are absent and missed in the sustainability reports. And also the reliability of the information being disclosed. Recent years, more and more companies, they may invite a third party to conduct assurance, to provide assurance work on their social reports. But these parts still have much room to be improved because the percentage of company recruiting third party for the assurance, CSR assurance, is very limited. And the comprehensiveness is also one of the major issues that we need to pay attention. Some information disclosed is quite descriptive, without details, or without quantitative indicators. For example, a company may disclose, this year we have provided staff training to different types of the employee, but they didn't measure how many training hours and what kind of training courses and the frequency you provide the training course. All these details may be absent. So we are encouraged those companies to provide more comprehensive information, and it will be much better if those reporting entities, they can visualize, help to add some graph or diagram to visualize the CSR data or information they have presented. That will be much helpful for the understanding by the readers. And another part of the limitations related to the initiative. As we mentioned just now, there are several internationally recognized initiatives. For example, the GRI and also the ESG guidelines, as well as the SDG recommendations. And in China, we also have self-developed the CSR reporting guidelines or some kind of documents. But all these initiatives, we may not see there is a very professional organization or professional support to provided to those public enterprises or even provided to the private sectors. So the current market mechanism is mainly top-down approach in order to respond to the government's call or regulatory body's call. Then the enterprises and the companies start to work on and pay attention to this part of the initiative. But self-motivated factors actually need to be reinforced. In the Great Bay Area, actually, we know that we have 9 cities from the Guangdong province, and Shenzhen also have one of the largest capital market in China, one of the capital markets in China, and already attract a lot of large-sized enterprises, including the high technology companies, and they also have attracted a lot of foreign investments. In such a large market, and we have state-owned enterprises, private companies, and multinational companies. And Hong Kong also have a very scale capital market. And in this market, okay, with the leading of those public companies, we may explore what kind of CSR roles they are playing. And like the state-owned enterprises, they are the backbone of China's economic. And actually, SOEs, they are taking social reporting activities with a very positive attitude, because as I mentioned, they want to be the pioneer. But a majority of the SOEs, they may not provide as much as details they can. They only disclose some rough and brief information. So this part actually, what we mentioned here is maybe in the future they can be improved through more professional trainings or support from the related government department. For the private companies, we have a lot of large business group, and their primary goal. Their primary goal is for profit seeking. But nowadays, more and more private companies, they also think about the social and moral issues. Okay, but for the CSR reporting perspective, they are encouraged to disclose more. Otherwise, people may think still the old thought. They may only think that the business process or activities you are conducting is mainly for profit seeking, right? And also for the multinational companies, or we call the international foreign invested companies, they are playing a lead role in China, and they also bring something new from the Western countries, because we know that in the Europe market, in the European market, the CSR requirement or the sustainability requirement may be more strict, and they also, like those enterprises in Macau and Hong Kong, we need to localize the CSR strategies, because they have learned a lot from outside world, and how to integrate these what they have learned to the local market is one of the main issues they may think about. Okay, and at the same time, maintain the same level of the commitment and the standard will also be a challenge for them. Because we have 2 stock exchanges in the Great Bay Area, and there are a lot of CSR related regulations, guidelines, and initiatives have been introduced to the public, have been launched to the public. For example, for the stock exchange, Shenzhen Stock Exchange, actually early in 2016, they already issued a social responsibility instruction for the listed companies. And at the same time, Shanghai Stock Exchange also have released the similar related documents and guidelines. And China Security Regulatory Commissions, they have developed some kind of guiding policies or kind of code to the public to follow. And for the Hong Kong market, as well as for the whole China market, in 2020, to better educate those reporting entities worldwide, and those companies, those related organizations, they developed a set of SDG disclosure recommendations. So these can serve as guidelines and instructions for the public company to disclose or to report their SDG performance to the public. And for Hong Kong Stock Exchange, they developed one set of ESG guidelines, and they require all the listed company in the Hong Kong market to disclose ESG informations after 2017. If some company, they cannot disclose, then you have to explain why this part of information cannot be disclosed. Although they didn't mention it is a mandatory, but in some kind of natures, actually, every type of the company, they should be capable to communicate their SEG performance with the public through a kind of report. And no matter it's integrated in the annual report or they prepared or publish stand-alone sustainable ESG report, all these can serve as a kind of a proof of their CSR performance. In the recent year, the end of 2021, and the Hong Kong Stock Exchange released a report and titled with analysis of IPO applicants' corporate governance and ESG practice disclosure. So this is quite a brand new report, and the purpose that they released this report is because they believe that the corporate governance and the quality of the corporate governance and the board of directors can be a kind of engine for the public companies to perform well in the social related aspects, CSR related aspects. As you've seen from this chart, okay, many applicants, they mentioned they have the board to oversight the ESG issues and also can help to implement the ESG risk management work and perform some materiality assessment of the ESG factors. So without this kind of practice or good corporate governance, actually the company can help to identify the potential risk and also to discover some opportunities during their business operations. So coincidentally, in the early years, in 2018, Professor Noronha and I also conduct a research. We developed a research related to CSR and the CG. At that time, the purpose that we conduct this research is because we believe, just like Hong Kong Stock Exchange, we believe the corporate governance can help to add value on the CSR performance, and the market will have some positive reaction towards this part of the quality and the performance have been performed by the public companies. So within our research, we mentioned we introduced a very a new idea related to the measurement of the social performance. Okay, so these measurements is based on the stakeholder. Okay, based on the stakeholder theory. Okay, and as you've seen, we try to quantify. Actually, this indicator is not developed by us. It's developed by Shanghai Stock Exchange. And many companies, they use these indicators. They disclose this social contribution value per share in their public reports. And the components of this value is based on the stakeholder theory, as I mentioned. The tax payment we included here is related to the government, the contribution to the government. And employee expense for related to the staff benefits. And interest expense is related to the creditors' benefits. And we also consider the total input in the public good undertaking is for the community's benefits. And minus with, subtract with the social cost, which refers to the negative impact during the business process of public companies, and then scaled by the total number of shares of that company. So these indicators become the main interest factor within our studies. And then we separate the CSR contribution into two parts. We have economic contribution, which can be captured by EPS, earning per share, and also other contributions, social contribution, captured by the changes of social contribution in the other areas. And we also integrated in the CG, corporate governance measures. And we try to see how these variables, okay, affect the market reaction. We use accumulated abnormal return as the market reaction. So this part is quite academic, but try to make it simple. We just want to see whether the market can react positively towards the social contribution. If there is a positive association between market reaction and CG quality, okay? And also, this positive market reaction towards the social contribution will become stronger when the firms have better CG quality being captured by this item. Okay? This is the purpose of our study. Try to find whether we can identify these kind of results throughout the whole study process. And finally, I would like to demonstrate, due to the time pressure, maybe we need to getting faster. And this is the main result we obtained. And all of our hypotheses can be accepted. And we find out both CG quality and social contributions can receive the positive reaction towards the market. Okay, so when the CSR report being released to the public and in the stock market, that company may receive some kind of abnormal return being reflected by the sudden increase in the stock price. Okay, and also CG, the quality of CG may add value on the social performance of that company. So with better CG, this part of the social performance will be more recognized by the market. That is the main part of the findings of our research. Okay. Maybe I skip some robust tests. Okay, and for this part of the research, we want to demonstrate is the importance of corporate governance towards the CSR performance. And how can those public companies to reinforce their CG quality? And maybe you can invite some third party to, when they perform the audit work, you may also invite them to to audit some non-financial performance. And also the board diversity, the independence of the board can also be investigated whether can improve this part of the indicators. And from the regulation aspects is another aspect you need to pay more attention. After this initial research, and in the following several years, we also conduct some related researches. As you've seen, 3 more researches have been published in international academic journals in from 2020 to 2021. Okay. If you are interested, you are welcome to communicate with us. We may send the copies of these studies to you for reference. And last but not the least, how can these CSR practices, initiatives applied in Macau SAR? And this is like a kind of, actually, we have talking about CSR in Macau for many years. So far, what we observed, the current problem we observed is still it's a more like a top-down approach. The government may call for the CSR, better CSR performance by the public enterprises, or may integrate all these CSR related statements in the concessionary contracts. But self-motivated behavior still need to be raised by enterprises itself, and also some other companies which are listed in Hong Kong Stock Exchange, because they need to fulfill some kind of requirement like the ESG requirement, and more reporting have been incorporated in their public reports. But we know that most of the large-sized enterprises in Macau, they have done a lot of CSR work to not only to the community, but also to other types of the stakeholders. But they may not have sufficient knowledge or professional knowledge to organize this information and present it in their reports. And that's why we think that the government need to initiate to form some kind of organizations or task force to assist the public companies, not only the large-sized enterprise, because large-sized enterprise, they have the resources, can recruit some or can outsource this part of the reporting activity to other party, or can invite some kind of professional people to teach them how to disclose CSR information. But for some SMEs, it's really a difficult problem for them to do that. Okay. And therefore, we hope that for future for the future regulatory bodies, maybe a capital market or the security market, expected to issue some CSR guidelines or initiatives, which can fit with those industry natures or market characteristics of Macau, and help those enterprises to develop CSR measures. Okay, and the government also expect to strengthen and reinforce the related legislations, and the media is also expected to increase its coverage of CSR activities and the performance. Okay, and again, as shown in the PwC's report, it has been mentioned some main drivers of the SDGs for Chinese enterprises. You may find out a government always be the key drivers and the engine for enterprises to do so. So that is normal and a common. Same situation happen in outside world, Western world. Government can be the first party to initiate or to call for and to encourage the enterprises to do so. And then enterprises can motivate themselves to perform better in this field. And together with the promotion of the United Nations and other non-for-government, non-for-profit organizations, as well as industrial associations, then this kind of practice will be obviously improved throughout the whole process. And hope that the situation in Macau will become better in the CSR and in the CSR reporting field, and the enterprises, they can equip themselves and know how to how to communicate their CSR performance with the different groups of the stakeholders. Only said what they have done is not enough. You need to organize and into different categories, and to prove that you have done a lot in different dimensions, and you really perform those CSR activities from the deep end of your heart. So that is the key point that concerned by different types of the stakeholders. Okay, that's all for this introduction section. And here I would like to take this advantage to introduce our institute. So we are the Macau Institute for Corporate Social Responsibility in the Great China. And our objective is to promote the concept of CSR through related academic activities and promote the sustainable development goals of enterprises in Macau and Great China. So if you are interested in our society, or if you have some questions related to the CSR issues, you are welcome to contact us. And for the topic I introduced just now, if you have any questions, we may answer your questions during the Q&A section.